Ladies and gentlemen, as we are about to begin, please be seated. We would like to seek your cooperation in completing this agenda. Kindly switch your mobile phones to silent mode to avoid interruptions. Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In these beautiful occasions, I would like to welcome our distinguished guest firstly. The Honorable, the Dean of School of Strategic and Global Studies, Universitas Indonesia, Mr. Athor Subroto, Ph.D. The Honorable, our Adjunct Professor in Urban Development Studies, SSGS, Universitas Indonesia, Professor Dr. Nobuaki Kubo. The Honorable, our Adjunct Professor in European Regional Studies, Professor Dr. Carmine Bianchi. And all respected professors and lecturers and all participants present at this event. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to General Lecture, Migrations and Social Inclusions, Localizing Global Supermarket Problems through Place-Based, Collaborative Platforms Driven by Dynamic Performance Governance. Monday, 12 February 2024, in IASTH Building, Universitas Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce myself. My name is Anissa Maudi Alfian, a postgraduate student from School of Strategic and Global Studies, Universitas Indonesia. On these occasions, allow me to convey for today's agenda as follows. The first agenda will be opening ceremony. Continue with singing Indonesia Raya or Indonesia National Anthem. Opening remarks. Continue with presentations of view by Universitas Indonesia. The general lecture agenda, Q&A sessions. Continue with group photo, and the last will be closing. Ladies and gentlemen, to honor our country, let us sing Indonesia National Anthem. The participant, please stand.
Selamat datang di Universitas Indonesia. Sesuai dengan persyaratan K3L yang berlaku di Universitas Indonesia.
Please return to your seat. Ladies and gentlemen, opening remark delivered by the Dean of School of Strategic and Global Studies, Universitas Indonesia. Please welcome Mr. Athor Subroto, Ph.D. Please come to the stage.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests. Here we have Professor Dr. Carmine Bianchi from University of Palermo, Italy, and also Professor Dr. Nobuaki Kubo, of Tokyo University of Marine Science and Technology, and also we have here head of European Studies Program, Ibu Heni. A very good morning, Bu Heni, and also Ibu Ika. A very good morning, and other students, School of Studies and Global Studies, and also here we have our moderator, Mbak Iren. Thank you for your coming to this event. Ladies and gentlemen, we have small tendency here, but actually in this general lectures or also broadcast through other online platform like Zoom and I think YouTube. So every guest who cannot attend here directly also can see and follow from the online platform, and also guests maybe cannot attend today online or offline can see the recordings of this event. Ladies and gentlemen, we see as the topic migration and social inclusion, localizing global super weak problems through place-based collaborative platform driven by dynamic performance governance is very needed currently in many parts of the world, especially Indonesia. As now, this week we have also general election for Indonesia. Is it becomes immense problem for our politicians actually to really directive in their vision and mission how to make our society better and better from past, now, and to the future. However, it is still immense problem, as I said, without considering this theme of the general lecture today, migration and social inclusion, how to include all of the society, all of these our citizen to be part of our development is become a very complicated problem to our country. And what all of the candidates for our presidential race today, they are all mentioned this kind of problem actually. And it's not easy to solve without we see the very big picture and systemic approach for this social inclusion and how to include migration inside these systems. So in this general lecture, I think we will also have a new perspective on how to make a collaborative platform as the basic platform, foundational platform to improve our society. How make kind of there to eradicate many silos between ministerial border, for example. And that's why we need this platform, which is collaborative, that will be taught by Professor Dr. Carmine Bianchi here in Indonesia. We are very pleased to welcome Professor Carmine Bianchi in this general lecture. And last but not least, Professor Carmine Bianchi is actually my supervisor, Ph.D. in my I don't remember. It's about 2010 until 2012, I think. Yeah. And then currently he become our one adjunct professor here in Indonesia with all right and entitles of this Carmine of the young professor. Also, we welcome also Professor Dr. Nobuaki Kubo as our young professor from University of Tokyo. Again, with this general lecture, we hope this is become our first step to make a stronger collaboration between our university, University of Palermo, and University of Tokyo, and also University of Indonesia, to make a collaboration in a very wide area of education. Again, thank you very much, Professor Kami Bianchi. Welcome to our school and also Jakarta, and also we are welcoming Professor Dr. Nobuaki Kubo for the welcoming remarks also after me. Again, thank you very much and enjoy the general lecture. Have very nice discussion. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Mr. Subroto, for the first speech. Ladies and gentlemen, for the next agenda is opening remarks delivered by our adjunct professor European Regional Studies. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Dr. Carmine Bianchi. Yes.
You have to be patient with me because I don't know the procedure. It is a pleasure for me to be here, even in consideration of the long acquaintance with Professor Athor. And I've been here even in the past, so it is a prolonging and very pleasant for me acquaintance with Universitas Indonesia, not only interpersonal but also interinstitutional. I hope even in the future. Now is between me and the university, and it is a big honor for me to be affiliated with your university, and for our common purpose, which is, in my opinion, to develop value, to create value, to, in a good sense, fertilize the areas where we, in which University of Indonesia operates, and create value by addressing topics which are like the ones which are focused, on which this event is focused. I mean, there are topics that today are really a big challenge for our society. As Professor Subroto initially remarked, the way administrations and the institutions are used to face this topic is sectoral, is a way according to which life is framed as in slices, in silos. And even in public, and particularly in public administration, the way courses are structured all over the world, not only in Italy or Indonesia, but all over the world, tend to be sectoral, unfortunately. And the way public administration, in terms of real working in institutions, is carried out, is even worse, unfortunately, in some cases, because a sector doesn't communicate with another sector inside the same administration. So, for instance, in public administration in my country, it happens that you can have a region, which is a second level administration, or even in a state administration, where the ministry, on a formal point of view, is coordinated with the other ministry. But the real way to develop a plan that is consistent with the consideration of a sustainability of the strategies, strategic plans, tends to sum up different sub-plans. But the system is not a sum of subsystems or a sum of slices. It's something that interacts and connects different subsystems. So a living system is different from a non-living system. If you see a cake, you can cut into slices a cake, but the cake is not a living system. Society is a biological system. So we cannot pretend to understand and even to address the problems of our societies by summing up different slides of these global problems. So we need a systems approach, and we will see how, by going to the topic specifically, problems like migration and social inclusion require, first of all, a localization, understanding how those problems, which are global problems, relate to the field, relate to the culture, relate to the resources, because they originate from different fields, plural. So we have to localize, even in terms of understanding the global problem, to have, of course, global strategies. We have to understand how they differently may originate. Talking about, for instance, climate change in terms of causes, you can find the different causes in different places. Sometimes causes of, for instance, landsliding can be associated with corruption, with bribery, with illegal and immoral allowances or decisions by politicians to allow enterprises or even owners of land to build or to operate in places that would require different practices to safeguard to consider the sustainability of the places. So there could be different reasons according to which a global problem like migration and social inclusion can be originated. So the place-based and collaborative perspective we address in this event is related not only to the localization, but to the previous need to adopt a systems approach. Rather than cutting into slices a global problem, we want to understand how the different pieces, the different parts, interrelate in a dynamic way over time. Because of what happens here now, and what are we trying to address with our policies now in this section of the place, can change in the way we wish now, but in the future may not change, and not because the policy is not good, but because the other parts of the system may operate in a different way, or because what we are deciding to do may generate a benefit for our portion, but these benefits may generate in the long run some problems in another portion. That's why we need a place-based and systems approach. Collaborative as well, because we need collaboration between the different stakeholders. And this kind of recipe, which requires different ingredients, I tried to mention in my address, are put upon platforms. Platforms are not necessarily physical platforms or electronic platforms, hopefully. Electronic in a sense that they can allow eventually to interact, they can allow different stakeholders to interact online with a tool that can be even shared. But actually, the logic of platform is more metaphoric, in a sense to have a basis on which different players, in general, you know, in Sicily, we have an old tradition now, not anymore, that in inner areas you may see, we say in Italian, la cultura della persiana, the curtain culture. People may look from a place to the front, to the person at the front, not because the other person is an enemy, but they don't have any acquaintance with the person. So metaphorically speaking, this kind of curtain culture is, in a sense, abolished, or is won through collaborative platforms by engaging people around the table in collaborating. Because my mental models and my knowledge is, in any case, if it is not weak, a portion of what we need together in order to sustain the development of the place and the continuity of the single organization staying in the place. So this is the reason why we need collaborative platforms. Of course, there are even traditions of collaborative platforms developed with a pure electronic perspective. I mean, with a priority of build data, having huge databases. And based on this, the power of data, the sharing of data will support different players to develop collaborative platforms on different fields. This is good, but when we have, and I didn't mention that, super wicked problems, we are talking about something which is not so structured in a way we can understand. We say in Italian where to put our hands. We say dove mettere le mani, where to address our attention. So when we talk about super wicked problems, we are talking about high level of uncertainty, high level of blurriness. It's not easy, it's not transparent where to have to intervene, and high level of unpredictability. So there are delays, non-linearities that we have to take into account, and even intangible factors in terms of behavioral factors that intervene. So in this level of systems, we need something that can help people to frame a common shared view of reality. Doesn't mean that the common shared view, it will be framed through a model as a lens through which to perceive, in a sense, the reality which is outdoor, will be the right one, the best one in absolute terms. But it is a shared one. So a plan is, even a written plan, is a lens on which we base our decisions. So in this way, we try to facilitate the work of different people, different stakeholders, to collaborate, to have some kind of living puzzle. The puzzle or living cake, but the cake and the puzzle are not biological systems. This is a biological system. So this is the challenge we have, and we will discuss about these challenges in all this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Bianchi, for your delightful speech. For Mr. Bianchi, please stay on the stage because we're going to present a gift from Universitas Indonesia for you. Okay. And we would like to invite Mr. Subroto to present a gift from Universitas Indonesia.
Very nice. I like it. I like the shape and the colors. And the color. Thank you so much. It is a great pleasure. Thank you. Nice. My office. So, caregiver for nuts. Was a character symbolizing simplicity, not arrogant, honest, the skills others can be an example but not it was a very, very high magic power in the box. Nice, thank you. I like the words.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf from Professor Kubo, he sent his regards to Universitas Indonesia and all of participants that there is a sudden event so that he couldn't join this event. Next, we are moving on the main agenda, which begin with the opening speech for the public lecture by the moderator. Therefore, we invite our moderator, Mrs. Iren Sondang, Ph.D., come to the stage. Okay, please welcome Ms. Iren.
Okay, very good morning for our distinguished guests, Prof. Bianchi, Pak Athor as our director, Bu Heni, Bu Ika, and also all the participants in this room and also through Zoom with online. So today we are very pleased that we will have lectures and also discussion after that with Professor Bianchi about the migration and social inclusion, how to localize the global super weak problems through place-based collaborative platforms driven by dynamic performance governance. So actually, the first remarks is from Professor Kubo from the Tokyo University of Marine Science and Technology, but unfortunately the committee said that he cannot join because of the technical problems of the connection, online connection. Previously, we like to know about two sides of perspective. First is from the technology perspective, which is the Professor Nobuaki Kubo, how to define these collaborative platforms in terms of the technology approach, and not only from the technology, but also how like Prof. Bianchi said before, how the social platforms that collaborated by the stakeholders can engage the people interests or the decision maker interest. So, but since we cannot ask Professor Kubo to join with us, so maybe without further ado, I will ask Professor Bianchi to explain more about what he said previously about these collaborative platforms, how this place-based can be one tools that can engage many interests to make a sustainable development for such in some areas. So I think maybe Professor Bianchi want to have yeah. So yeah, so I think the committee already prepared. If you want to closer to the participant, how about in here? Okay, the cable is not. I think it's okay. Okay.
For me. No problem. No worries. Thank you. But I don't think. Do we need a microphone? But I. Yeah, but my suggestion is to put this this way. I can talk, but I cannot stay steady. I move. So if it is not a big problem, because is it possible to? Yes. Not that easy.
Nggak kedengeran. So people in Zoom can hear your voice. You need to use microphone.
Yeah, but I
Sorry.
need to use also the
Oh,
the
yang okay.
is it possible to use this?
Yes. Like this.
Oops. 1 second. Where can I connect this? Ooh.
Okay.
Okay. Let me see. So is there a possibility to have this in a different place? Is that, no, it's pretty complicated to. No, I'm looking for this.
I see.
It's not the 1,000 people. Where people talk, we interact. I don't want to say far away. So that's why I'm trying to. You know, I feel quite embarrassed to say far away.
To make a good connection. To make a good connection, interactive, and so on. Okay.
Yes. No, this. Yes. No pen. 1 second. Okay. Now, 1 second only. Now we need to plug somewhere the. Oh, this is already plugged. Oh, is it? It doesn't work. Ah, it's. No idea. No, it's. I mean, I don't see the computer there. Whatever. It's. But please don't change this. What do you? No. This is. No. What do you? I have no idea. Wow. problem is that it doesn't mirror. Yeah, I have no idea how it works. No, 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 not this, please. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? Oh, wow! How did you do that? How did you do that? I can learn at least. Ah, it's the equivalent of FN F5 in Microsoft. Yes, good. I learned. Okay.
Okay.
So here we are.
So,
Let me try.
yes, please, Prof.
Works.
Yes, now it works. So you have 30 minutes to
Let
talk.
me try. Let me try. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Actually, I have to tell you that when I came to know about this specific schedule, I read that there were 2 hours. So I calibrated initially my talk on 2 hours. The initial email was that. So I will pick from slides. My goal, of course, doesn't pretend to go in detail in all aspects, but I wish to give you an idea of the approach I follow in this topic. Something already I said to introduce the topic. What I would like to say more with respect to what I said is that the approach I use is called dynamic performance governance, which takes into account the possibility to not only to measure the results of collaboration, but even to understand the causes of those results, and even to understand what is not perceived very often, but it is going on, that may give rise to results which could be better or worse. There could be silent phenomena which are totally ignored by organizations and by people in contests. So even though the term performance is usually related to measurement, and related to single institutions. So we can have a performance measurement and evaluation for municipalities, for businesses, for non-profit organizations. I relate to performance related to places, the performance of a place, which is not an institution, which is a site characterized by people, characterized by history, characterized by resources, which could be natural resources, and or cultural resources, and even sunshine could be an important resource. Water is a resource, of course. Language is a resource. Recipes, we had the discussion in the weekend about recipes, are a resource. So there could be resources which are different from place to place, in a good or in a bad thing. Unfortunately, crime is a resource, is a negative resource, of course. But we have to take into account that resources may have a different profile from place to place. So in order to address these global problems, we have to consider that localization is important, and localization upon a place rather than upon a sum of institutions or a sum of problems faced by single institutions. Okay, this is a problematic with the So super weak the problems. I think the armchair is a little bit problematic because I don't know if you may need. Yeah. We need this over here. So what's a characteristic of of super weak problems? The characteristic is that are related to a multitude of problems. Fantastic. Fantastic. I don't know what happened. They apologize for the problem. They say that. I don't know what happens, but it is opening again. It will be a challenge. No. Second. It is going. Yeah. I don't know what happens. It crashed. Yes, no. Okay, so this variety of problems implies that often they are taken separately in terms of policies. Policy analysis is facing, even for the problems, separate, but problems are very often related each other, with each other. So you see here, you can have refugee migrations, social exclusion, social conflicts and war, sometimes terrorism, crime, domestic violence. You can have some connections. And these problems are characterized, all of them, by common characteristics, common features. They gradually emerge locally to exploit globally and vice versa. They are characterized by an interconnection across organizations and regions, causing performance instability, unpredictability of the results. And often they are characterized by what has been called an irrational discounting. What is the irrational discounting? People say, I don't want to say actually, that there are even cases of situations, of comments. Mike Pompeo, I want to say the person. I was listening to a comment of Mike Pompeo, who was the ex-secretary of state of Trump presidency. He said, after all, ice melting is not a big thing. It's an opportunity, it could be an opportunity for trade. So this is a typical example of irrational discounting. The problem is a problem, we can face the problem later. So this is a cultural issue, sometimes even deformed by some kind of politics. A fragmentation of authority. Sometimes when we have a problem, the problem cannot be addressed very often by only single organizations. We need the coordination and collaboration. And the dynamic characteristic of these problems is that tackling such problems in the short run and the narrow domain may trigger path-dependent processes that would inertially unfold unintended outcomes. So what is produced now in an area can generate effects in another areas. And we cannot go back like in a movie. We play back the film and then, it's just like, you know, the metaphor of sliding doors. If we go through a path through a sliding door and not the other sliding door, we cannot go back if we find the fire and go. We have to go through the fire. So we have to understand to create less damage or how to create a good value, at least a less damage. The need for transition and resilience should be considered rather than the need for discrete event investments, rather than we need a transition that happens from one day to another day, as a capacity to lead a continued existence by incorporating change. So a society that changes. And first of all, transition is a cultural issue. It's a cultural transition which should permeate all the fields for change. Come on. Okay, excuse me. I went too irrationally. So the dynamic complexity of wicked problems relates to the fact that many stakeholders are involved, many variables, but the number of variables is not a problem. I don't need to put all the variables in my model. Model is a lens, is a key to frame reality. Remember what I said before. So the model is a facilitation for learning. And I don't go in a contest where different stakeholders are involved to frame for policy analysis a problem with a pre-model, with a model in the fridge. I take the fridge, I open the fridge, and I give a frozen model prepared. No, I build with them a model. The modeling activity, initially qualitative model through the whiteboard, is perhaps more important than the model per se, because the modeling is facilitation and learning, and that people can compare their own vision of reality. So the number of variables is always less than the potential number of variables in a good model. You have a selective approach. If you pretend to put everything all at once, you don't analyze anything. So this is a common concept in performance management. In performance management, you need selective analysis the more you relate to strategic problems. If you relate to operational problems, of course, you need to be precise. But this is not a problem to be precise here. You need to understand patterns of relationships, patterns of behavior over time, and causes, even the silent causes of what is happening. Delays affect the system, so we have to consider delays, which are not only physical delays. They could be even perception delays, behavioral delays. So people may have some aptitudes to change their own perception. And by the way, the irrational discounting is a kind of perception delay. Diversity of issues characterizing policy fields, intangibles, matter a lot. If you ignore an intangible like the image of a place, the attractiveness of the place, the trust people have towards the system, and you ignore these factors because they are not measurable, objectively measurable, and these factors are important in order to generate and even to frame, of course, the problems and to create a policy. If you are bypassing these intangibles only because they are difficult to frame or to measure, you are giving them a precise value, which is zero. So there is a double mistake. So you have to deal with uncertainty. Dealing with uncertainty is a matter of understanding the patterns of relations. So if there is, for instance, a mistrust towards a system, and people and institutions tend to think in and operate in silos, you have to think what may cause this kind of mistrust, or what can cause, on the contrary, a change, gradual change towards trust. Maybe sharing information, maybe sharing contacts, There could be a number of factors that can be measurable. So when you point out the factors that affect an intangible, you identify a resource, for instance, contacts, for instance, information, a logic and a policy to mobilize those and deploy those resources to create a change, to trigger a change, which is a factor that doesn't generate an impact on the very, very final outcome I want to get. But an important intermediate outcome is changing trust, building trust. And the change in trust is an intermediate outcome. And in the middle, there is a performance driver. This is the logic of dynamic performance management and governance. Policy analysis over time implies plotting based on what are your goals, the resources you will mobilize, which are in performance governance, shared strategic resources, to impact on what drivers, to impact on what end results, which will feed back on the resources. Because if I am able to generate more trust, which is really an intangible variable, will become fundamental to implement the policies I want to implement. If I want to have sustainable mobility in my city in order to reduce the level of pollution and to increase the level of health in the people, in the population, I cannot think that this kind of transition can be made only by building bicycle lanes or by ensuring an availability of electric cars, car sharing, etc., or by other kinds of infrastructure, which are fundamental. But what happens if the culture is based on a mistrust? This is given by the state. Oh, I don't know. I don't think it is the case. I have to even to deal with the level of trust, the level of culture, whatever feature is related to culture. Maybe it is not only trust. So intangibles are fundamental in terms of understanding the problem. Nonlinear relations between causes and effects. Policies, this is very important. Trade-offs in time and space. What is a trade-off? You have something implying some kind of uncertainty in understanding the effect of policies. Short-term, long-term. This is a trade-off in time. Sometimes something can be bad in terms of results in the short term, but I want to figure out whether in the long term I can imagine that the pains I'm suffering due to these policies now may generate a benefit tomorrow. Or on the contrary, I have a lot of smiling faces based on my policy today, but these smiling faces will not be sustainable in the long run because of something that will happen maybe in my same system or alongside the system in neighbor systems. That's why I need to use blurred boundaries, not to have just a drastic disconnection between what is inside and what is outside. Unpredictability of external factors is actually another important factor. So when we talk about these problems like migrations and social inclusion, they can be, of course, identified in many of the Sustainable Development Goals of the 2030 Agenda, which is a great tool, great plan to refer to, but it has some potential problems if seen as a list of objectives, of goals. Because you can have fragmentation, but they are interconnected in each other. It is static because it refers to a set of goals related to different periods, but we don't know how to go from a time to another time and who will relate to this. And it is global only. The localization is fundamental because, as I commented before, the global problems arise from many local contexts and vice versa. The global strategies to be designed need to be understood to understand how to implement them into the different contexts where we refer. So localizing sustainable development goals implies understanding the context with the culture, with the shared strategic resources to share. Share by whom? By the different stakeholders. To deploy together those resources in order to affect the performance of the place, not the performance of the single organizations. If we make the place better than now, we can not only increase the attractiveness and the quality of life in the place, but also we can make our organizations more sustainable. This is a matter of long-term sustainability. Excuse me, but I misclicked because I was... by localizing sustainable development goals, I need to identify the systemic interconnections between different SDGs and stakeholders, understand how they are connected, the different SDGs and the policies to the outcomes, identify the shared strategic resources at context level, ensuring consistency between the planning context, the planning process and the context level, and the organizational level. So there are a lot of interconnections. I will skip this because it becomes... So the localization implies, first of all, in my opinion, the possibility to identify clusters of sustainable development goals. I'm working at the moment at my university in a center called the Center for Sustainability and Ecological Transition, which is started by our rector, in order to localize SDGs. And I am working with stakeholders through collaborative platforms. And one of the challenges is to identify even clusters of SDGs. Some of them would enable economic and cultural and ecological transition. Some others are more focused on others socioeconomic cultural conditions, and others are from the environmental aspects. So in order to connect them, I should identify at context level policy areas, share strategic resources and stakeholders, and make them and put them around the table for policy analysis. To have not just a transposition, just transposed of the same SDG agenda with some adjectives changed or some minor things changed, but the reinterpretation of the SDGs by the light of the local context. So this implies that we can frame problems, we must frame problems on a global level, of course, but this is not enough. In order to implement the global strategy and even to design the global strategy, we will see at the end of this slide, we need to consider the multi-level governance challenges, which are typical challenges in political sciences. I'm not a political scientist, but I interact a lot with political scientists. So we have not only a supranational level, but a national, regional, and local level that can go towards the neighborhoods as well. So we can have very local levels. So this means that through learning forums, which are contests that may even imply that the people may stay physically around the table, people representatives from different organizations. We may have a facilitation of the work that implies this kind of modeling to develop collective action and change some of the factors that in many countries, in many contexts, are a cause for lack of collaboration. This individual way of thinking I described before refer to the fact that there is a lack of active citizenship. What is active citizenship? It's a kind of interaction mode according to which single people and institutions relate to the place. If I don't think that the place is something to which I belong, I will never have care about the place. So the future of the place is my future and the organization future, and maybe even my network future. If I have, as an organization, a comfort zone according to which I have my interconnected companies or non-profit organizations, friends in a sense, inside the place, this doesn't mean that good networking will generate automatically good outcomes, sustainable outcomes for the place. So we have at least 3 levels: an organizational level, a network level, in a sense, and a place level. In between, we can have even an ecosystem level that is related to different topics. Anyway, this kind of local governance issue requires a framing and zooming on those problems at local basis. This kind of analysis will allow to create a better understanding of how cascading the SDGs. It's not a matter of cascading. It's a matter of making the local and the global consistent with each other. If I understand the many globals at the global level, I will be able to design better and more solid strategies and more flexible strategies at the global level. And vice versa, if I want to cascade the global level, I cannot jump to the local level without understanding how the different levels of layers of governance are interrelated. Come on. I will skip intentionally all these aspects, but I want to only focus on this, that transition, which is a key word for this kind of change, is often meant as a mechanistic issue. And it needs, however, to focus on places. This is related to what I said before, but I will skip this. No, maybe we can consider this very quickly. For instance, transition policies may significantly impact on the social subsystem. For instance, transportation, urban design, congestion charging zones. So there are technical or sectoral policies which are made. So I can change the transportation, and we can change the design of urban setting, maybe by relocating businesses, the cultural and the recreational areas. Consider what happened with the COVID. COVID implied that after COVID situation, some cities have been thinking of how to relocate a hub, the different hubs of, rather than having a single center of the city, to have many centers, a polycentric design. This is even a congestion charging zone, pay toll lanes to reduce traffic and pollution. Everything is good, but what is important to implement this kind of change is that the fruits, the results, will be obtained if social and institutional structures will change and will also support this kind of transition. So this implies the cultural change of all these things. So we need a co-evolution of economic, cultural, technological, ecological, institutional developments at different levels. The concept of co-evolution is the systems concept that takes into account how different parts of the system over time may change in terms of consistency. Collaborative governance is a very important means to implement this kind of transition. According to Ansel and Gash, professors from Berkeley, collaborative governance is a governing arrangement where one or more public agencies directly engage non-state stakeholders in a collective decision-making process that is formal, so should be even formalized, consensus-oriented and deliberative, and aims to make and implement public policy or manage public programs or assets. It is a way through which governance is made from not only inside the public sector, but even in contexts which are outside the public sector, which are neutral contexts. It's not a matter of only asking for participation to the people, to the citizens, but even of enabling people, the private sector, through co-production, for instance, to create value in single parts, in different parts of public sector activities that may create problems in the public sector. For instance, in terms of lack of funding. So lack of funding could be even a possibility for the public sector to say, well, we have a number of organizations, maybe in the non-profit, for instance, to address problems like NEET, not in education, employment and training for young people, to address their needs because they are closer to young people and they have experience. So they could be more effective than us and even cheaper than us in terms of efficiency. They may absorb less resources. So this implies a change in the mood, in the way public administrations happen. But there is an important role of the public sector in any case, because the public sector endorses, must be there. Because without the public sector, collaborative governance could be weak. And even, in a good sense, controls. It's not a control, but it is some kind of meta-governance or orchestration according to which, if particularly implemented in the context of a collaborative platform, this may transform the collaboration, which is a collaboration in a non-institutional context, in something which is closer to an institutional context, because we want to grow different ecosystems, which are thematic ecosystems, in a way that all of them, like single departments in a single organization, would collaborate to create new ecosystems, to develop, it is like launching new departments or launching new products, in order to make the total ecosystem, which is the place-based ecosystem, more sustainable. So the focus of this is on resource sharing and mutual value creation, because the value we create at the place level will sustain the value that we may be able as single institutions to create by ourselves. And the dynamic approach for a wicked problem can relate not only to the mitigation policies. Mitigation policies consider the problem, for instance, crime, and then you want to mitigate crime so we can have more control, more policing, for instance. Prevention is relates to the inflow of the problem. So the prevention is to reduce the inflow. So on the one side, mitigation problems policies would be related to sectoral interventions. Prevention is more collaborative, but, so for instance, we can have schools involved in preventing new intakes of crime. But transition policies should be the basis on which collaboration to deal with the wicked problems could be based. This is a meeting and sometimes challenging the community culture. Sometimes, in political science and in general in public governance, it is said that good public policy is the one that the best meets the expectations of citizens. Right, correct, logic, but what if the expectations according to the culture of citizens are not sustainable, are based on non-sustainable principles? I say in Italian sometimes that in my city, car drivers, now a little bit less than in the past, would like to enter in the shop with the car. So they wouldn't leave the car. So this is clearly unsustainable. So this implies even the need to challenge this kind of culture. And this is a part of transition. And it is a gradual process. So sustainability, in terms of making something a place, for instance, enduring over time. So sustainability is a matter of endurance. If located particularly at the place level, but the same is at the organizational level, would imply considering socioeconomic systems, ecological systems, and in the middle, cultural systems where active citizenship in terms of trust, social capital, and civic mindedness have an important role. Where well-being is the macro goal of sustainability. And this well-being has a more equity dimension, equity, building equity, social equity, at the socioeconomic point of view, on a socioeconomic point of view, and regarding the ecological systems, resource preservation, biodiversity balance is another important outcome. Oh, what's going on? The challenge to measure, but not measure, manage, and even make a kind of important governance, meta-governance, orchestrate is the term, the verb used in the literature. All these factors is to have performance systems, in this case performance governance systems, based on a place, not on a single organization, that can consider different perspectives. One is death. So I mentioned before the performance drivers, the intermediate outcomes and the final outcomes. Then the time, short-term performance versus long-term performance. So you see how we have trade-offs in time and the space. And space is a field, socioeconomic performance, cultural performance, and ecological performance. So I will skip this. Well, I would like to read and comment with you the example I have about what is unsustainable. For instance, an example of unsustainable policy design. By following a bounded e-government approach, for instance, a municipality may embark into intensive efforts in only providing innovative technological capacity. This is very, very frequent. That might enable the provision of new advanced services that the local area stakeholders would be, however, reluctant to use. So, is e-government a bad thing? No, it's a very good thing. But the question is, to what extent e-government takes into account factors that would enable policies to be implemented? This is the question. So this might be due, for instance, the reluctancy, for example, to lack of stakeholders' trust because of perceived low level of privacy and safety of digital transactions, or their poor digital literacy level. So if we have these factors, we have to intervene also on these factors, which are not purely related to e-government. They are related, but not inside the core of the way sometimes classical projects regarding e-government are conceived, because of a lack of systems approach. Come on. A sustainable policy, on the contrary, needs to adopt a broader view that would require developing more efforts and embarking more local stakeholders to foster the drivers of trust and digital literacy, according to this example, to build up a consistent level of shared strategic resources to enable to sustain e-government innovation. Trust is an important resource to build up. And knowledge, or literacy, if you want, is another resource. May I weight trust in kilos? 2 kilos of trust? No. May I purchase on the market literacy of people? No. Outcomes are those measures I must build from inside. Outcomes are the results, the ultimate results. They are flows culminating into a, if they are positive outcomes, an increase of the endowment of resources that I cannot, or we cannot, in a place, purchase on the market, in the market. Perceived safety by citizens is another asset that a government or a community cannot be able to purchase in the market. Attractiveness of the place, same. Quality of life, same. And affecting outcomes is much more difficult than affecting outputs. I can produce things, but producing things doesn't mean that those things, in terms of services, in terms of activities, etc., will impact on the sustainability of a place. So good outcomes are those on which we should be able to intervene. So from the interplay of collaborative governance, performance management, and system dynamics, we could identify a domain which I call dynamic performance governance, which is the methodological approach I use to implement what I tried to introduce. So now we will go towards service ecosystems and place-based community value creation. What I could do is the following. I can show a video very quickly. It's a quick video, short video, on a neighborhood of Palermo called Ballarò. Athor knows Ballarò. The first time I talked about this video with Professor Subroto, he said that there is a market. Yes, it is famous for its market. And the market was in crisis and is still suffering from such crisis, something like 7 years ago. And because of the mess in the place, because of the crime around the place, sometimes associated with immigrants, but not with immigrants, but with the mafia associated with the immigration or causing immigration. You can find everything in these negative things. I don't want to mention, but you can imagine the kind of crime. So it is not only a problem associated with the chaos, with the smog, with unsafety by shoppers who want to purchase, and there are Vespas going back and forth, if not cars, but even factors related to the attractiveness of the place because of the crime, and in spite of the very nice buildings that would need proper treatment, even the attractiveness of the neighborhood by the time was really challenges. So Ballarò has been and is still to some extent characterized by a number of associations networked with other associations. I'm talking about small initiatives in different sectors. One relates to providing health services, primary health services to immigrants, and even organizing, for instance, classes, schools, just in terms of, they are not schools, but teaching Italian, and particularly for kids, but even for adults. Even following procedures regarding immigration and even formalization to get a passport. Others are associated with other factors. So you can find, and one of them, I would say the main one, in a sense, at least in the perception of the municipality of Palermo, when before COVID, it was 2018, around that time, we went to meet the head of cabinet of the mayor about this. She told us, I was one day approached by a group of people from Ballarò. And they said, well, we are shop owners, small traders, and we want to report we are illegal. Because there is no law that recognizes the presence of trade as a driver of wealth of Ballarò. If you don't recognize us even as illegal players, as a municipality, you will never put in your political agenda the problem of trade and unsafety of trade in Ballarò. This is the association called SOS Ballarò, which doesn't mean SOS. It means Sviluppo, Orgoglio, and Sostenibilità, Development, Pride, and Sustainability, something like that. So I wish to share with you the interview by not SOS Ballarò, but another association. The interview is in Italian, but there is a subtitle in English. Otherwise, only Athor would follow. Let me see. Where is it? Ballarò. Cross fingers. No. No. Go back. Stop. Come on. Otherwise, it is a problem. Oh, the problem is also volume.
Sono un prete salesiano, vivo qui a Palermo, mi occupo fondamentalmente di ragazzi e di giovani. Il quartiere si chiama in realtà Albergheria, detto anche Badarò per via del mercato storico, è un quartiere del centro storico di Palermo tra i più significativi e tra i più vivaci. La realtà è multietnica, multiculturale, multireligiosa, la si vede soprattutto camminando tra le sue strade, nelle sue piazze. La fusione tra le culture è un dato di fatto. I ragazzi e i giovani ormai sono palermitani tutti, anche quelli di origine africana piuttosto che asiatica. Sono convinto che possano insieme costruire un modo diverso di vedere le cose. Non mi piace molto etichettare il quartiere come a disagio, come un quartiere di malavitosi, piuttosto che di periferia degradata. L'associazione SOS Badarò significa storia, orgoglio e sostenibilità. È un'associazione libera di cittadini che nasce dalla consapevolezza che non si poteva soltanto stare a guardare il quartiere. Nasce 2 anni fa in seguito a un attentato incendiario e il nostro ruolo era quello di vivere questo quartiere con responsabilità per affrontare un po' le problematiche più emergenti, a cominciare dalla viabilità, dai rifiuti, dal percorso educativo dei ragazzi e dei giovani, i migranti, tutto quello che riguardava anche l'organizzazione e soprattutto del mercato. Uno degli elementi più importanti è stata proprio la riqualificazione di alcuni punti che erano fondamentalmente abbandonati, addirittura anche ricettacolo di rifiuti, luoghi sicuramente non frequentati. Sono stati riqualificati proprio con la forza di tanti ragazzi e tanti giovani che in maniera volontaria e gratuita, che con tanta passione, sono messi lì a ripulire proprio queste piazze. L'associazione ha organizzato Anima Ballarò, proprio per animare il quartiere e per far diventare il quartiere sempre più in relazione con tutta la città di Palermo. Da 2 anni ha proposto il Buskers Ballarò Festival, il festival degli artisti di strada che a Palermo per la prima volta si è realizzato proprio per le strade e per i vicoli nelle piazze di Ballarò. Un'altra attività importante di SOS Badarò è stato proprio quello di coinvolgere il mercato e i mercatari ad associarsi e quindi la creazione dell'associazione Mercato Storico Ballarò. Questa cooperazione, questa associazione di persone con interessi diversi si sta poco a poco trasformando in un lievito che speriamo fermenti tutta la realtà di questo quartiere. Aiutare SOS Badarò significa fondamentalmente vivere una dinamica di collaborazione vera, quindi partecipazione attiva, democrazia dal basso, con la propria opera volontaria e con la propria creatività. Come prete e come religioso, il Cristo che vorrei vivere oggi è proprio questo, un Cristo alternativo che non se ne sta nelle sacrestie, che non se ne sta chiuso, ma che è in cammino e che soprattutto valorizza l'umano che c'è in ognuno di noi. Il talento, secondo me, è una responsabilità. Quindi chi ha un dono grande ha la responsabilità di non tenerlo nascosto, di metterlo a disposizione degli altri. Quindi il talento è il contrario della paura. Quindi talento per me è Giovanni Falcone e Paolo Borsellino, vittime di mafia, che sono stati uccisi da quella realtà che vorrebbe incatenare la nostra città, la nostra Sicilia, proprio nella morsa della paura. Spago, ponte di connessioni, invisibile a volte, piccolo piccolo, un po' fragile, ma necessario perché tutti possiamo essere insieme.
this goes back to the point of grassroots organizations and networks. But beyond networks, there are ecosystems which are even something living. A network is also living, but it is something bounded. When you have grassroots organizations, you have a basis for developing collaborative governance through which you can develop more collaboration. Now I will show you, if you have if you are not tired, an example of how the same approach, which is a feedback approach, which is the basis that to move towards a dynamic performance governance, can be applied according to an ecosystem view to the case of Ballaro. It's just a slide, but it is pretty complex. It's pretty complex. Let me go back. Well, this is something. This is Ballaro, by the way. Here we are. Okay, let me see if it works. Okay. So, if you have, of course, questions, you are free to raise questions whenever you want. Okay. In this slide, we start from a policy that was decided. It was decided by SOS Ballaro with the total endorsement by the municipality, although with a lot of problems with the municipality. It's like an oxymoron. On the one side, you have a green light. On the other side, when it comes to implement these policies and to get even authorizations or to get even new laws which are issued, they have distortions. So one of the drivers that may implement, but is not here, may trigger the implementation of these problems, processes, collaboration processes, is the level of transparency of the public sector and the level even of speed at which the red tape is made less red and more soft and softer tape. So collaborative policies in this slide are related to two sides. One is the core of the model, in this case, collaborative policies to enhance employment opportunities and crime control. So all these people you saw in this picture come to as the immigrants as jobless people. They don't know, they don't have anything. They don't have, they may have their own skills, but one thing is having your own skill, another thing is being empowered to provide, to earn money and to live, to get funds, etc. So employment opportunities and even crime control have been considered two related aspects, because crime control is not related only to crime of local people, but immigrants could be, as I said before, part of this because they are unemployed and they may be forced by some kind of mafia to be enrolled in this kind of gangs. So these collaborative policies implying participation from residents, non-profit organizations, and government is the local government, is a municipality, created an improvement. Plus means more. Excuse me, I correct myself. In this case, it means more. Plus means a direct relationship. So if less collaborative policies would be less effective policy intervention. So plus means direct relation between a cause and effect. A higher effectiveness would generate and generated more employment opportunities, which generated a reduction in a sense of in the increase in theory of more intentional involvement in collaboration to enhance employment opportunities and crime control. So what does it mean? This is a balancing loop that would imply theoretically that a command and control activity would, or policy would be put into practice. Once you, as a policy analyst, identify a policy, once you get more employment opportunities, and so more jobs, you can say, well, my policy has been effective, so there is no reason to enhance it anymore. Nothing worse as this. So this is the short-term effect that would imply the effectiveness of the policy, but no more than that. The other element is employment opportunities may increase the fraction of socially included population. That would decrease the neighborhood crime. That would increase employment opportunities because more people are interested and even culturally they develop a trust even towards the place and they look for a job. And they look, first of all, for courses for their kids, for courses in Italian, etc., etc. This is a reinforcing loop. The difference between a balancing loop and reinforcing loop is that the reinforcing loop is a growth-oriented loop. You can have, in this case, a plus, minus, and minus. If you multiply the algebraic signs, you get a plus, which means reinforcing. Minus means opposite. I didn't say that. And the plus means direct relationship. So a reinforcing loop in this case would be a growth-oriented loop. So we get more employment opportunities, which, well, we will see how they affect it now, but the effect on the other side, the effectiveness of policy interventions may even create more community policing, not only policing by the police, but participation by the community, local and immigrants as well, native and non-native, and with the community policing, decreasing neighborhood crime. So if you multiply the signs of the arrows here, plus, minus, minus, minus. Excuse me, it's not here. Plus, minus, minus. I don't see it. 1 second. In this way, it's complicated. We have this. That yes. So it's a community policing plus, neighborhood crime minus, another minus employment opportunities, and then another minus, so we have a 3 minus, and then a plus towards effectiveness of policy interventions. So you have, I don't know why it doesn't work, but I don't want to crash again with the computer, is the pointer. Here it is, but I cannot see the pointer here. That's the reason why I went there. Maybe in this case, I can do, no? You see the pointer here, but I don't see that. But anyway, it is this. I try again in this way. It's this plus, minus, minus, and then minus, plus. So the loop is this. It's pretty articulated, but you have a 3 minus, and the 3 minus multiplied by the other plus generate a minus. What does it mean? It means that these two policies, or these two subsets of the same policy, create a break in the problem. The problem was that you have a less and less socially included population and more and more crime. On the other side, and in fact you see here, more socially included population. Look at this loop on the other side, on the reverse side. Low employment opportunities, so a reduction of employment opportunity would reduce the fraction of socially included population. More and more marginalized people. If more and more people are marginalized, it's you have an effect on crime. This is a mistake. This should be also plus. You have a more crime. No. It's not a mistake. If you have a more socially included population, you have less crime. If you have a less socially included population, you have a more crime. So in this is a a double bind problem, because you can have the problem could be solved if this policy together with this side of the policy is effective, but to make this effective, you have on the same time to create more employment opportunities, and you may create even community policing in terms of support. But this is in theory, because what if you don't have enough trust? You have to build the conditions. Oh yes, sorry, there is another side here, because a higher level of effectiveness of policy intervention may increase governance legitimacy, that would increase, because of the participation of people to the network, to the collaboration, the effectiveness of policy interventions. Yes? Yeah. I will show this. And this higher governance legitimacy would increase the fraction of socially included population. The other side is governance capacity. So you can increase governance capacity by investing on collaboration for social inclusion. So more social inclusion by involving government, non-profit, residents, religious institutions, and businesses increase the capacity of the system to create, on the one side, to corroborate the policies in crime control and the employment opportunities, and to develop forums that may enhance civic mindedness, part of active citizenship in the people, that would increase the fraction of socially included population. So we, in this way, identify drivers of social inclusion, not only in the employment opportunities, but also in the civic mindedness. You can procure more jobs to people who have an involvement in the place, who have trust towards the place, and therefore who may even request, there could be a demand for the services that are implemented through policy interventions. So if there is an equation, immigrant means crime, this means that more crime would divert immigrant people from the place. So the way to address the problem has been, on the one side, long-run perspective, build civic mindedness, and build, even in the medium term, more governance capacity. On the other side, specific projects that address mainly, here it's only on labor, but in the reality of the project, as I said, it is also written here, health services, education, language courses, and employment opportunity development. I took all of this and I exploded this in this kind of analysis. So what is, even public events corroborated this kind of activity, inclusive social service supply, and more governance capacity corroborated the community policing. More governance capacity increased shared information to develop trust. Remember, trust and civic mindedness are two building blocks of active citizenship, which increase the social inclusion service demand that actually should be a factor also connected to the employment opportunities anyway, anyway, it's complicated to reach this. More, well, a possible problem in the long run might be the saturation of the inclusive social service supply, which is another balancing loop. Why this example? Because I want to show you how this example may allow us to move from a single problem, which is social inclusion, which is a fundamental problem, to the identification of a modular, the implementation of a modular approach through which you identify different, call them clusters, I call them ecosystems, because they are sets of people, in terms of stakeholders, domains, resources that could be developed in terms of analysis through co-models. One of them is related to the single policy interventions. In this case, employment opportunities and crime control. Here we have the specific community policing. So police is one thing, labor is another thing. But the problem is not a sum of the two things. We need to involve different players. And here you have the issue of involving other players to create a widespread civic mindedness and trust that may generate inclusive social service demand, social inclusion service demand, and even the participation in terms of more people included, socially included in the system. So this is another one is on traffic congestion, but there is no time. So to conclude, collaborative platforms are the basis on which this kind of activity in terms of modeling is carried out, requiring an effort to develop the analysis through a modular approach. The example of the different clusters, different ecosystems, clarifies how a single topic will disclose the possibility to have co-models like adjacent ecosystems through which we identify more stakeholders, more resources, more aspects in the same place, only by orchestrating the activity towards different ecosystems and vertically towards the goals, identifying the goals of this kind of orchestrating activity, we can have a sustainable development. We can pursue a sustainable development of the place. Many thanks.
Thank you very much, Professor, for your very insightful lecture for us. So due to time, I think I will give 2 questions if you want to ask or give comment for what professors has been taught before. Bu Heni and other maybe? Okay, I think Bu Heni first.
Can we return to the last slide? The complicated last slide.
I think it is disconnected now.
Oh, this one.
We should enable.
This one. Okay. Okay, it's become. Thank you very much. It's really enriched my knowledge about what is system dynamic and all the complicated things, but it is challenging. I like it. I think I fall in love in this model, but despite of this all complicated, my question will be very simple. So apparently that collaborative is the main issue to bring the best result. So there we see 2 collaborative policies and 2 collaborative, yeah. But in every collaboration, we see different, seems different, not different. The other one has more, more actors, and the other one is less. The problem is we see that trust and trust and trust and trust and also the legitimacy is very important, right? What if there is lack of legitimacy and lack of trust? What happened with the cooperation and collapse? Yeah. Okay. Is there any alternative that we can, to make it become alive? Yeah, of course. And the other one is this. You mentioned that there is another, it is needed one more actor which will do their duty to share the information. Remember you said it? Yeah. And which actor is that? The second question. Before you close the session, you mentioned that it is important to have another actor. Yeah, another actor from collaborative policies to enhance social inclusion. Yeah, over there. You said that it is needed one more.
What do you mean by actor in this case? You mean these circles?
No, those who are doing the green. Yeah, those. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they are actor, right? The not the state and non-state. Yeah, and you need that. It is important to have actor who will share the information to make all the network become smooth. The relation among the. So which is the actor? Okay, thank you.
Okay, regarding the first question, trust and civic mindedness are preconditions to develop this. But since, as we say in Italian, Rome was not built in a day, and we have to survive, even though we don't have trust and civic mindedness. I think we still need the feedback loop diagram. Yeah. Otherwise, it would be a problem. Thank you. I lost the point. Yeah, we need a policy that builds trust and at the same time creates conditions to make the problems that are a co-cause of a mistrust weaker. So if we have a problem of crime, you generate with the grassroots organizations who are already collaborating, collaboration in different fields, and in this example I took only labor, employment opportunities, but we could see education, etc., etc. But labor was an important entry point because providing a source of earning to people was a way to remove or to reduce the power of organized crime towards them, who are in a very weak condition and position, and at the same time to provide a stimulus to other people to say, well, there is a possibility to become part of the system because we can help you to get all these services. So what I in general say that best I would say best cases in terms of excellence in collaborative governance usually show that good performance is obtained by giving for granted that you have active citizenship in the system. So you start and implement the policy based on an existing level of collaboration, at least of potential collaboration, of a cultural perspective which is symmetric to the possibility to attract these people. Here, on the contrary, you have to build trust and civic mindedness to start building a social capital. In other words, build everything from zero. But in a situation where you have more and more crime, less and less employment opportunities, and less and less socially included population, you have to start at the same time to create the conditions according to which you start opening the eyes of people. This is with pragmatic, direct measures, and this is also gradually, even to social socially driven measures. In a sense, I put examples of organizations that have been stakeholders been involved in both sides, and you noticed, and it is a good point, that the number of stakeholders on the right is higher than the number of stakeholders on the left. This is, of course, not something that has been related to the detailed number, etc. But the categories, when you refer to a field which is providing employment and, in a sense, providing even some kind of effect on crime by finding collaboration in dealing with local crime by local people, you identify two specific domains. Here, you need necessarily to involve different stakeholders because you want to go across the society, maybe even outside of the neighborhood, in order to put, in a sense, healthy blood, good energies in a system that wants to break the wall of lack of trust. So to generate a 360 degrees participation and collaboration and openness by the people in the society. These are very often, unfortunately, even desperate people who may lose any kind of hope in getting, and don't have, by the way, even sometimes a possibility to communicate in our language. So there are a lot of barriers that make them sometimes slaves, particularly for ladies. Unfortunately, this goes back to the gender. This is about the Nigerian. This is what happens is very bad in terms of crime. This is one side. The other side, the other question. I don't know if I answered your question. Yeah, the other question was related. I forgot the other one, the second one. Please remind the stakeholders. Maybe I also answered indirectly.
Small question in my head. Sorry. So yeah, it's normal. So thank you for the answer. It was answering my question.
You said, now I remember.
Okay.
Now I remember. Your question was related, the second one, to the facilitation and the orchestration. The orchestration is an activity that on which I didn't have the time, of course, to analyze. It's very wide, and my goal is to give you an idea of how this kind of conceptualization can be implemented. But the orchestration implies that the experts in this kind of modeling can, connected to performance governance, by the way, may facilitate, first of all, the work of the different stakeholders and may support those among the stakeholders, possibly even including someone from the public sector, who would take the leadership of all the project to say, well, we want to identify a logic, like as if it would be a firm, an organization, to develop the project in a sense that it will be supported by more ecosystems. I mean, the ecosystems are clusters of interventions, like biological cells that generate and regenerate themselves, even to create more cells and more subsets regarding this.
For instance, if we will put the role of academics in the
Absolutely. Well, academia might be, universities could be even positioned here. In that case, there was an intervention by university, but not in a sense that it was active. Yeah, it was probably. I don't know if we have time. No,
Thank you.
yeah.
I think it's enough, Bu Eni. So, Prof. So I think it's enough from Ibu Heni that give you question, and you already explained to us about the this dynamic performance systems, how to deal with the super weak and unpredictable system. So as you mentioned before, it's very complex that we deal with with decision makers, many variables, delays, intangible, unpredictable issues. So I think it's very relate with our school, that we are a multidiscipline and transdiscipline studies of our school, that we are not only see from one ecosystem, but we must see or consider more than 2 or 3 ecosystem to see like this place-based system like you told us before. So the dynamic performance governance, I think through that kind of dynamic system, we can capture, we can see the holistic and comprehensive that issues that happen in that location. For example, for that Balaro SOS, right? I think in Indonesia we also have some best practice about the community-led activities like in Balaro. But next time we will share about our lesson learned also in Indonesia. So thank you very much for your lectures, for our discussion also. Ah, okay. So maybe your material, yeah, yeah. Professor, if we can access your material, your
Yes,
maybe the committee will, uh, yeah, take your material first. Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Bianchi, and I will turn to the MC.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Iren. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the conclusions of the general lecture. SSGS, we would like to thank to all the participants and distinguished guests, and we look forward to crossing the path with you in the future. That's all for me. Thank you for your attention, and have a wonderful day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Now we will hold the photo sessions for Mr. Bianchi. Kepada seluruh hadirin diharapkan untuk maju ke atas panggung karena ada sesi foto bersama.
So for all the participants, please move forward and because we have a photo session together. Pada para peserta bisa maju ke depan, silakan. Ada yang silakan apabila ada yang mau menitip HP. Siap, sudah. Thank you very much.